I the a-hole for selling my PS5 rather than sharing it with my stepbrothers? Original post. My 15 male mom and dad met and briefly dated while they were both studying at uni. My mom gave birth to me after they had broken up and had sued my dad for child support. I was raised by my mom. It had virtually nothing to do with my dad throughout my childhood. My mom was an international student, and her family cut ties with her due to the circumstances of my birth. Tragically, 2 years ago, I lost my mom to cancer, and thus I was placed under the care of my dad. My dad is remarried and has 2 sons, 5 and 7, with his wife. It wasn't a bad arrangement at first, but we were all essentially strangers. I was given a bedroom to myself and we shared some meals, but other than that, kept to myself. About 10 months ago, I was lucky enough to score a casual job at an aged care facility as IT support. It was stupid easy money as it involves installing and maintaining a dozen or so common PCs used by the residents, plus running basic computing workshops. I ended up accruing a whole lot of disposable income in a short time. Stupidly, instead of just keeping quiet about it, I decked out my room with a new TV, headphone, and a PS5. Obviously, the setup was of great interest to my 2 stepbrothers. Initially, my rule was that they could play the PS5 anytime I wasn't using it, but I would get first dibs if I wanted to play or use my TV. I was also super accommodating by buying an extra controller, which I didn't need, and several kid-friendly games that they wanted to play. I eventually had to change the rule to only play when I was there, because the 5-year-old destroyed one of my controllers through spilling juice on it. This is where the drama started. They whined to my parents, who then ordered me to place the PS5 in the living room. I refused, stating that I had purchased it with my own money. This led to their argument that I have too much money and should contribute rent, utilities, and food money. I called their bluff and said, sure, drop a contract and I'll get a lawyer to review it to ensure it complies with the Family Law Act. My dad then told the boys that he was going to buy a separate PS5 for the boys for Christmas, but the dude is clueless about the global shortage. Finally, last night, after realizing that he had zero chance of buying one for close to recommended retail price, my dad threatened me to either voluntarily gift my PS5 to the boys for Christmas, or he would toss it in the bin while I was at school. I was so pissed that I went on Facebook Marketplace and sold a PS5. The boys found out today and were devastated. I feel really bad because they shouldn't be punished for this crap show. My parents are in their room talking about me, and I'm sitting here in my room. Am I the a-hole? How could I have handled this better? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. You bought it with your own money and aren't obligated to share it. The fact that you did in the first place was very generous given PS5s are like gold dust, and your brothers clearly weren't careful when using it. Not even that. He was willing to continue sharing it as long as they used it as he was home, because his brother broke an $80 controller. Not the a-hole. Keep saving your money so you can get out of there as soon as possible. Do not let them have access to your accounts, and do not pay rent or bills. If you have somewhere else you can stay, maybe chase those leads. I'm sorry you had to do that, but you were right to. Your father and his wife sound awful. This is important, because they seem to think they have the right to your money already. So if it's a joint account, they may just take what they think they have the right to. If you have a joint account with them, talk to the bank about the issue now and ask what they can do for you. I hope he sounds like he's in Australia, in which case there would be no problem with him having an independent bank account. Now for the first update, December 18. Wow, this blew up overnight. Firstly, thanks to all the kind strangers out there giving me your positive encouragement and support. It's quite humbling that so many of you took time to read my story and chose to provide positive support. Some people were after an update of the situation. I'm at work now, but my stepmom had a chat with me this morning and it was quite positive. She said she didn't know about my existence until right before I came to live with them, and so it caused a huge rift between her and Dad. She apologized for projecting that onto me and not being more welcoming. She also didn't know about my dad's threats and told me that it won't happen on her watch. My stepbrothers also admitted to her about the juice incident. She said that she is going to get the boys a Switch for Christmas, and she offered to pay me the difference between RRP and getting a new PS5. I probably won't take the money, but at least it's a step forward. This was the longest conversation I have ever had with her too, by the way. No comments from my dad yet. Lol. To answer some common questions. 1. My bank account is entirely in my name only, Australia. No one else has ability to view or access the balance. I actually don't think my dad's demand for rent was about money. They both earn a good salary. He's just butthurt that I'm not reliant on his money. 2. Yes, I really am 15. Lol. I typed out my post in Word and so that it could be spell and grammar checked. Maybe that's what confused people? 3. I got 27.50 Australian dollars an hour on a casual contract, with additional loading for weekends. The operations manager at the aged care facility is super chill and allows me to schedule my hours around school. I just have a cap that I can't go over. She lets me do my homework on the clock and I get free meals from the cafeteria. If I help the residents and on-facility devices, they usually tip me, and cashiers sometimes cookies. Lol. I've got a fair bit saved up because I don't really have any expenses. 4. I've got a shoebox of documents from when my mom passed. I think my mom's assets is looked after by a trustee firm, which will be turned over to me at 18. The law firm managing the will had previously explained this to me, but I wasn't really paying attention at the time. I've got to still go through everything. 5. I sold PS5 for a tidy profit, even with the cost of the damaged controller. I'm not desperate for one at the moment, so I'll just sign up for a waiting list again so I won't need to take up my stepmom's offer. Thanks again for the love, everyone. Your stepmom sounds lovely. I'm glad you were able to have a chat. You sound very responsible with money. Your dad needs to get over his pride and ego and be proud of you. He also needs to start communicating. To not have told your stepmom about you is really awful. He seems too focused on his image than his family. Good resolution. Of course, your dad is still the a-hole. But stepmom really stepped up and your stepbrothers are just annoying little brothers like anybody else's. Not lying or manipulative, so there's that. They just know that your dad will take up for them. Do try and build a relationship with stepbrothers. Later in life, good relationships are hard to come by, and your stepmom is a really nice person. Amazing update. I'm sorry the last 2 years have been so hard. Your dad is totally the a-hole for not telling his wife anything about having a whole other kid. Now for the second update, December 19. So we've got a gathering with the extended family today. This is the first time I've met any of them due to COVID, and they're all been super lovely to me. My stepmom showed them my original post and they are all getting stuck into dad. My uncle, dad's younger brother, has set up a Reddit account for him, and he's doubling down as he thinks Redditors will take his side when they read his account of it. I'm not going to link or read his post, but people have been telling me it's quite a bloodbath. Now for the final update. I think I just have to do one more to close everything off. There's a lot of emotions running through me right now, so I'm sorry for rambling a bit. Firstly, I'm immensely grateful to all the Redditors who reached out to me to voice your support or to make sure that I'm okay. I'm very touched. Secondly, I got to meet and spend time with my extended family today. There were over 40 of them here. They're a rowdy bunch, but they are amazing. They really made me feel welcome. Some of my cousins are gamers too, so there was an instant connection. In terms of family, it's been mostly mom and I for my whole life, so this is definitely new to me. But my new family were 100% accommodating and were very interested in me. Thirdly, my stepmom turned out to be a champ. One of the first things she did was introduce me and show everyone my Reddit post. It turned into a massive debate where nearly the whole family laid into dad, including my grandparents. At one stage, my uncle, a Redditor himself, pulled me aside and told me that, "Don't worry, mate. Your dad has always been a bit of a stubborn C-word. He'll get over it." Another amazing thing was when my nan said she knew my mom quite well, and we had a great chat about her. I think we broke dad in the process. My dad got very loud arguing with the family, and my uncle somehow trolled my dad into posting on Reddit to tell his side. He's been on his laptop in his study since then for nearly the whole night, glued to the screen. He didn't even come out for dinner. I've chosen not to read his thread, but I do know from other Redditors that he's getting absolutely wrecked. I don't know how this will end, but all I know is that I feel so much better. Whatever happens with dad, at least I have some amazing family members. Swapped some gamer tags with my cousins, and have reached some common ground with my stepmom. To think, all this started with a single Reddit post. I lack the words to describe how grateful I am. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your love. I hope everyone out there can be as lucky as me and spend holidays with their loved ones. Sending you peace, love, and good vibes wherever you are. Now for some interesting twist, we're gonna read 2 posts from the dad concerning this incident to tell his side of the story. For the first one, am I the a-hole for asking my son to share his console with his brothers instead of keeping it in his room? A few days ago, my bias son Jonah, not real name, posted a biased and frankly defamatory post about an incident in my home regarding a PS5. My wife was kind enough to share the post and comments with our entire extended family at our Christmas gathering, so apparently now I'm a huge a-hole. My brother suggested that I post here to set records straight and give people both sides of the issue. Firstly, I never actually intended to charge Jonah rent. His job gives him essentially 100% disposable income purely because he lives in our household. He used this money to deck out his room, buy brand new shoes, buy the latest iPhone, etc., all for himself. I couldn't care less about how he spends his money, but it does set a poor example for my other 2 boys. The last straw was when Jonah set a login password for the PS5. I basically told him that if he's not willing to share, then why should I give him a free ride? My son should be grateful. While we shared DNA, I only dated his mom, May, not actual name, for all of 5 months back in uni. I was very clear with May that I didn't want kids, but apparently consent doesn't go both ways. May put me through legal hell and ended up costing me tens of thousands of dollars over the years in child support, setting my own goals back. Instead of letting Jonah end up in a group home, I stepped up and took him in when May got sick. Instead of gratitude, I constantly have to deal with disrespect and attitude. Because of Jonah, my wife thinks I breached her trust all for something that happened well before I met her. While the boys previously did have access to PS5, I now won't let them play it now that school is finished for the year unless he's home, which he never is. I gave him the ultimatum of either sharing the console or no one gets to play it. In response, he pulls the most passive-aggressive move ever and sold it, so now no one plays it. So listen, how am I the a-hole here? I've taken in this kid into my home, a kid who, by the way, will receive a sizable inheritance in a few years thanks to Mason's estate. I've given him a home, a family, and fund his lifestyle, all at the cost of my own relationship. In return, I haven't asked for a cent, and he won't treat me with respect nor follow my rules. But somehow I'm the giant a-hole who's in the study typing this out, instead of enjoying Christmas with my extended family. Instead of attacking me, I'm hoping people will now give their fair opinion of the situation based on seeing both sides of the story. You're the a-hole. I've given him a home. Newsflash, Dad. That's literally your job. Quit acting like you're doing some damn gift of charity for a kid you created. Reminds me of a time when I was broke and I asked my dad for money. After he gave it to me and I thanked him, he turned to me and said, "Never thank me. No matter how old you get, I'm still your father, and that's what I'm supposed to do. Hence why I spoil my parents like crazy whenever I can." My father has always said he has money in his pocket and a room in his house for all of us no matter what. He learned it from his parents. It's a no-brainer to him. Okay, clearly this hasn't gone down the direction I thought it would. Clearly some of you have issues with comprehension, or just can't be bothered reading my comments fully. I want to be clear. I never threatened to collect rent from Jonah. I don't need his part-time work money or about his inheritance money. I make a very good salary, probably more than the vast majority of people who use Reddit. I simply tried to explain to him that he has all this disposable income because he doesn't have to worry about basic needs. I didn't explain it properly at the time because we were arguing, but my intention wasn't for Jonah to give his PS5 to the kids permanently. I just wanted it to keep in a common area until I can buy another one for the kids. Jonah never told me about the controller. If he had, of course I would have replaced it. That's not an issue. I expected him to not be so selfish to his brothers. Keeping it in his room under password protection is so rude. Jonah gets home really late most days, so my kids are in bed by the time he gets back. I won't debate the nuances about sex and custody. I'm not an idiot. I understand perfect consent and parental responsibilities. I will just say that there is a large gap between consenting to be intimate versus consenting to having a child. I get that our current laws are against me on this one. I didn't intend to lie to my wife. Jonah and May were something way into the distant past for me. Our settlement agreement was very clear in that. I had absolutely zero communication with May or Jonah for at least the 10 years prior to finding about her illness. My child support was at a fixed rate, so I had actually paid her out a lump sum that was supposed to take care of him until 18. It wasn't like it was getting taken out of pay every week. As far as I knew, I was never supposed to hear from Jonah or May ever again. Why would I tell my wife about something like that? Yes, Jonah is a new addition to our family. Yes, I get all of this isn't his fault. I don't love him yet, and to be fair, he hasn't made it easy. I will try to. This thing takes time. You all act like it's easy. And now for another post from the dad that was posted very recently. Am I the a-hole for intercepting and eating my son's food delivery while he was grounded? My eldest son, 16, is undergoing a hormonal-fueled rebellious phase. His behavior consists of things like rolling his eyes when I talk, back-chatting when I tell him to do something, overemphasizing putting on his headphones when I enter the room, and a whole laundry list of other passive-aggressive behaviors. It was his birthday yesterday, but he was going to go out with his friends this weekend to celebrate by paintballing. However, when I got home from work yesterday, I noticed that he had failed to do some chores I had set him, and then did a whole headphones routine when I started telling him off for it. I got so sick of his attitude and that I threatened to ground him for 2 weeks, which means not letting him leave the house except for work. My words clearly cut through his headphones, and it dawned on him that he would not be allowed to go paintballing this weekend. So he took off his headphones and said, "Go screw yourself," and then shut himself in his room. This naturally led to his actual grounding. The grounding didn't seem to faze him as he spends a lot of time in his room anyway. I cut off his devices from our home Wi-Fi, but he works around this by having own hotspot. He refused to come out for dinner last night when my wife asked him to. It has basically barricaded himself in his room. At 10 p.m. last night, he ordered himself a meal via a delivery app. Again, he has clearly been passive-aggressive here, flaunting his independence as he has a perfected lovely meal in the fridge made by my wife. I was still up watching TV, so intercepted the delivery and ate the meal myself. At some point, my son must have come out and seen me, but retreated back to his room without saying anything. My wife thinks I am a major a-hole for eating the meal, but I think it comes part and parcel with the grounding. My wife also thinks I'm too harsh with him due to the grounding. I let him go to paintball if he apologizes. So am I the a-hole here, Reddit? You're the a-hole. Yeah, it's pretty weird that you ate the meal, an act that has no disciplinary value. Other options included putting it in the refrigerator for the next day and telling him not to order out when a prepared meal is available. Did it make you feel like a big man after he cursed at you? Oh, you're the dad who tried to steal his kid's PS5, then got ripped apart by your family and your wife. What did your brother call you again? A stubborn C-word? You're flexing here. You hate that your teenager who you gave a home to, father of the year by the way, is being backed up by everyone around you. So you're acting like, well, exactly like your brother described you. Grow up. You're the a-hole. Right? Like, didn't he even say that he couldn't find it in himself to actually love his own child? Yeah, no sympathy for me. OP, you're the a-hole. Update. Am I the a-hole for canceling my wedding? Original story. Over the past year and a half, my fiancé Jose, male 27, and I, female 25, have been planning a wedding for July of 2021. We've been together for 10 years and have lived together for 3 years. Jose and I both don't like the pomp and circumstance of weddings, and we're hoping to have a low-key and expensive one. My family, however, wanted something bigger. My mother has expressed to me just how much she's living through me in having this wedding. I have expressed to her plenty that social situations trigger my anxiety. She doesn't care. Jose and I gave in last year and agreed to marry in a church and have the big reception she wanted. Jose made sure if we were going to do this, my parents would pay for both the venue and the church fee. They agreed. Planning was stressful, and it caused a lot of tension between Jose and I. It turns out the stress wasn't coming from the planning itself. It was the wedding as a whole. With my therapist's help, we identified that being a bride embodied many things my mother berated me for growing up and acted as triggers for my CPTSD. I came forward with my reservations to my mother. Her response was to gaslight me about my therapist's diagnosis and insist on the wedding happening the way we planned it. She joked that I could take some CBD or have a drink to stay calm during the wedding. She has also begun drinking to avoid confronting her feelings and regards it as the only thing she has that's hers. She does not take it seriously, and my father won't help. I found out that the private conversations I have had with my father about her drinking were shared with her. It got bad enough that at my bridal shower, she had 18 beers and berated my sister-in-law for calling her out on drunkenly crap-talking my brother to family. Mind you, Jose's side of the family does not drink, as they've lost their grandfather to alcoholism. I feel horrible they were put in the position to having to watch her. When trying to make amends between my sister-in-law and her, she decided to take me on a car ride in which she screamed at, gaslit, and berated me for accusing her of being an alcoholic. She apologized for this half-heartedly, expecting me to forgive her and move on. As a result, I've gone no contact with her. Jose and I made calls and cancelled the big wedding altogether and are instead going to quietly get married at the courthouse this Saturday with a small group present. Half of the deposit from the venue is non-refundable, but we decided to take a small personal loan to make sure we don't owe my parents anything at the end of this. His side of family is completely on board, while mine is sending emails and pleading with me to be a better person and make up with her. I know I've made a lot of missteps in this. I should have set my boundaries much earlier in this mess and stayed firm in not having the wedding. I wanted to hear from an unbiased party whether I am being unreasonable. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Your family are the a-holes here. They forgot that the wedding is about the bride and groom and not everyone there. In extreme case, it may also extend to being about the kids if they're really young and really important to the relationship, but probably not applicable here. Anyways, the moment you had reservations, your mom should have dropped everything to figure out a way to accommodate your concerns. When she fled from her duty to do that, she lost her right to complain about any of this. Enjoy your courthouse wedding, Opie. Sorry for all the strife. My mother had straight up told me that the wedding wasn't supposed to be for us. It's a celebration for the family. One of the emails I'd received from my aunts was, verbatim, "You know, the wedding is a chance for us to celebrate you. Please don't go off and elope and deprive us of that privilege." Yes, a wedding is a chance for the family to celebrate the union of a couple. However, it should never be the expense of what the couple wants. If the couple getting married wants a low-key, no-pump shindig, that is their right. You can't change the past. So don't beat yourself up about boundaries now. You've put them in place and learned a lesson. Just make sure you keep them in place should you decide to go down the path of kids. Not an a-hole. Why is it the person wronged has to be the bigger person? Just do what's best for you and your partner. That expectation is because the one wronged is the only one who might be willing to be the bigger person. It's a lot harder to get the offender to mend their ways. Bad expectation though. Edit. I'm floored, honestly, at how much traction this has gotten in the past few hours. I can't begin to thank you all enough for your words of kindness and guidance in this very strange time. When I made this post, I think I had expected to get more of a mixed response. But reading all of the not a-holes come in has admittedly thrown me for a loop. I've since subbed to many of the subreddits recommended to me by other survivors of narcissistic parents, and cannot thank you enough for y'all taking time out of your day to reach out. Jose and I will be remaining no contact with my mother and family going forward, and can't wait until the smaller, more intimate wedding this Saturday. For some needed context that's popped up in the comments a few times, the car ride I went on with my mother was not while she was drunk. And trying to meet the character limit on the post, I neglected to mention this was on a separate day from the shower. I apologize if that's misled anyone. And now for the update. Yesterday, I married the love of my life and partner of 10 years in a quiet little backyard ceremony. 15 people were there, friends, family, and Jose's immediate family. The ceremony took all of 15 minutes thanks to our amazing justice of the peace, and the celebration was fun. Casual conversation over a simple sandwich lunch. We got to catch up with friends we haven't seen since the pandemic started, as well as make fun memories with the people willing to understand and love us without judgment. My mother, in response to finding out I've gone no contact with the family and planned a private wedding without her, sent one of my aunts screaming at me the day before the wedding over email. Catholic guilt, gaslighting, the whole shebang. I went all in on telling my family exactly what I felt and dealt with in regards to my mother and them. They had the audacity to invent a story that Jose is nothing but a controlling abuser that deleted her first email. He's trying to steal me away from them and convince me it was the truth. They want me to forgive my mom and be the bigger person, even after detailing the extent of her behavior to them. I tore my aunt a new one over email, citing them all, my grandmother included, as cowards for not coming to me to tell me the alleged truth about Jose before, offering pomp, circumstance, and praise for getting married to him. It's funny how quickly the narrative shifted from, "Oh, think of your poor mother," to "You poor, stupid child running into the arms of a horrible man," to "You're a monster for canceling your family." The block button has been my best friend. Within the last 72 hours, I've learned exactly what kind of family I was raised in. In a way, I mourned that it had to be like this. No contact with the people I thought were supposed to love me. What I have realized is their brand of love is conditional. My mother also demanded the money back for the venue, and we sent a check to her. She still has chosen not to cash it. We have ample documentation to prove we have provided her that check. Jose is warning her in writing to cash that check by the 21st, or else we will stop that check and pay back the loan. Thank you all to the kind Redditors that have reached out offering words of encouragement and resources for coping with narcissistic, toxic family. Jose and I thrilled to finally have had this wedding on our own, surrounded by the people that matter most to us. They had the audacity to invent a story that Jose is nothing but a controlling abuser that deleted her first email. He's trying to steal me away from them and convince me it was the truth. Projection much? Congrats on the wedding! And starting the family you two are going to build together off on the right foot by surrounding yourselves with genuinely supportive people. My family accused my husband of the same crap when he stood up to them while they were going after me on social media. Projecting is just second nature to people like that. Over a simple sandwich lunch. I love this. Forget overcooked salmon and dried chicken. Give me some wedding Sammies. Me too. Bonus points if there is pie for dessert. We had cookies and a cannoli cake. Congratulations on your wedding. I'm glad you two could have your day the way you wanted to. Toxic families suck, but it sounds like you've at least married into a much kinder, more loving family. Best of luck to you both in all your future endeavors. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for uninviting someone to my wedding? Just this morning, one of my fiancé's friends sent a very nasty message into their group chat stating that he was upset and hurt for not being part of our wedding party. Mind you, he was asked. He was not at the same time as the others because I added another bridesmaid to my party, so our parties were uneven. He caused a huge stink about it in their group with other people stating that my fiancé was an a-hole and didn't communicate anything to him, and that he lied about everything. He told my fiancé that he will not be coming to the wedding because of this. I in turn asked him to call me because I'm not having any of this. He told me that my fiancé lied to him and didn't tell him anything. To my knowledge, we don't need to give reasons why we did not ask someone to be in our bridal party. He told me he doesn't want to be a replacement or a substitute for anyone who would bail on us. Mind you, no one bailed. We had originally asked one of our friends and his fiancé to be in our party, but they cannot make it because they recently moved out of the state. At this time, they don't know if they can make it across the country to attend our wedding. We understand and are not upset or hurt by their decisions. I explained this to him, and he said that wasn't the point. He said he's upset that he wasn't originally asked to be in the bridal party. He can 100% be upset and his feelings are valid. I'm sure a lot of people are upset that they weren't asked either. But we had a lot of tough decisions due to COVID, and we had to make a lot of cuts in our entire guest list altogether. On the phone, I told him that this is not about him. It's about me and my fiancé. This is our wedding, not his. I told him that if he thinks that my fiancé didn't approach the situation correctly, then he also is not approaching it correctly. My fiancé attempted to ask him if he was upset about anything because he told our friends he was upset. He told him no. Then right before he hung up the phone, he told him why he was upset. Although he did not give anyone any time to explain because he hung up. Throughout the phone call, he kept reiterating that he isn't making this about him, though his actions say otherwise. At the end of my phone call, I asked him, "Are you coming to the wedding?" He responded, "You're putting me on the spot?" I said yes. He then proceeded to hang up on me. After all of this, I removed him from our guest list. I don't want that kind of energy at my wedding. I will be happy to add him back if he apologizes to me and my fiancé as well as our friends for causing a scene. Am I the a-hole for removing him from our guest list? Edit. Please note that we ask the person and their partner to be in our bridal party who is no longer in the state. This person who is upset is my friend as well. I am not just uninviting someone who I have no relationship with. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. He can 100% be upset and his feelings are valid. I'm sure a lot of people are upset that they weren't asked either, but we have a lot of tough decisions due to COVID and we have to make a lot of cuts in our entire guest list altogether. This is the critical line for me, for a couple reasons. 1. You acknowledge the validity of his feelings. This shows you are genuine in your examination of the situation, rather than writing the person off whose opinion goes against yours. 2. Even if he legitimately feels slighted in this situation, his reaction is way out of proportion. A wedding is a celebration for adults. This guy's acting like a child. He told my fiancé that he will not be coming to the wedding because of this. Info. Why uninvite him if he'd already said he wasn't coming? He's the kind of person who could possibly decide he wants to come later because it changed his mind. The friend is right that he was asked as a backup, but he's a piece of work for creating a public stink about it. You should talk to your fiancé before kicking this guy from the wedding though, because it's not just my wedding. We talked about it. He said he doesn't want him there if he's going to act like this. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not moving my 22 female engagement party plans around for my friend, 21 female, who didn't respond until last minute notice? Recently, my boyfriend of 3 years proposed, and I thought it'd be nice to do some sort of dinner or small party to celebrate it. I planned it to be towards the end of June, and let everybody know 2 months ago so people who were getting vaccinated had time to prepare. I let one of my friends from high school know, who I catch up with every once in a while. She's been going through mental health issues, and we would talk a few times each month. I sent her a text in April which she never opened on Snapchat, which is her only communication method since she doesn't like iMessage. I called her twice as well. One time where I called her after she called me and she answered, but there was silence and then she hung up. So I gave up trying after that because she didn't seem to care. I don't know what happened, but she was also active on Instagram too, posting often, so I left it at that. She finally opens the Snapchat 2 days ago and sends me tons of text on there, saying things like she wanted to come, like a week before it's supposed to happen. I couldn't really just change all my plans for her last minute since it wouldn't be fair for my guests already attending. My friend blows up when she starts questioning why I'm not accommodating her or making things easier for her to come and says I'm acting like a future bridezilla. I'll admit I do miss her and would have liked for her to come. She's also going through mental health issues, so she was also upset and crying. But I'm not sure what to do because I feel like she didn't care at the same time. Am I the a-hole if I don't move my engagement party plans around so my friend can come last minute notice? Edit. Thank you for the congratulations and well-wishing messages. I'm looking forward to being with my fiancé. And here's an example of the schedule/plans. For the girls, I was going to have a salon day where we could do nails, facials, massages, hair, etc., those sort of things. I called up the salon and we had an appointment made in May, and I'm not sure on their availability. So some places I had planned, I don't know how would work it out, because this was something I scheduled out for everybody to work out. I don't think it'd be fair to my other guests who I asked if they'd like to come, when they either took a day off or moved their schedule around for this. This sudden change made it so everything would be affected for the people wanting to go, and I'm not uncertain how to go about that if she still wants to come. Not today, Hall. Are you serious? Why would you move it? Like if she's this flaky just to contact, how do you know she'll even come if you accommodate her? This friend only communicates through Snap and refuses to use any other form of communication. Everyone else who was invited didn't have an issue. She's acting like a friendzilla. Entitled, thinking everyone else should inconvenience themselves to accommodate her. Not today, Hall. Your friend is acting like a child. Just tell her, sorry, it's too late to change the plans. I really hope you can make it. I'd ignore anything else she says. Not today, Hall. She was completely inconsiderate. She could have texted if she didn't want to speak, but at the same time experiencing mental health issues, so maybe cut her some slack. Tell her that your arrangements/plans are all set at this point, but you would love to see her and are happy to add a seat for her at dinner if she can make it. People put events on their calendars and schedule other things around them. It is ridiculous for her to expect you to move the date and inconvenience every invited guest to make it convenient for one guest.